Welcome to the QQEvolution training video on how to enter policies in QQEvolution 2. Policies are entered within a customer's account, so to add a new policy manually, you will need to access that customer's account. From there, you're going to click on the policy screen. If this is a new customer with no existing policies, you will need to confirm that by adding a new policy. If this is an existing customer, and you're adding an additional policy to their current list of policies, you will have the option in the policy screen to add a new policy by clicking on the option on the action toolbar, Add New. This will also give you a policy screen that you will need to complete. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see the policy information section. This is where you're going to start selecting the basic information for your policy. You have line of business, which indicates what type of policy this is, whether it's a personal lines or a personal auto, commercial auto, homeowners. These are the drop-down list and the options that you have to choose from. You have your coverage types, so if there are different coverage types that are specific to this policy, you can have those already selected here. You can also select who the MGA is if this policy was an MGA written through an MGA or broker. This is a list of all the brokers within the database, as well as the insurance carrier. Now, before we move on any further, going back to the line of business, the line of business is basically one of the most important parts of the policy info section, simply because it does, with certain lines of business, drive your policy detail screen. Auto, personal auto, homeowners, dwelling fire, commercial auto, general liability, business owners, policies, BOP liability, and BOP property all have what's called a policy detail screen. So if I wanted to select, let's say, personal auto, I have the policy detail screen here on the upper right hand side that will allow me to enter specific information pertaining to this policy. Drivers, in this case, since it's a personal auto policy, the covered drivers on the policy, the vehicles, the coverages. I can also add additional notes. Once that information is completed within the policy screen, you will have a policy summary that can also be printed out for your customers if needed. Below that, we have, of course, the coverage type, which can indicate the specific type of policy this is. So if you need to go a little bit more into details when it comes to certain lines of business, you can use the coverage section to do so. Now, these options can be edited within the utility section by your administrator. Financing. Going back to our financing section, this will indicate how the policy, or what type of policy this is, whether it is a direct bill, agency bill, maybe it's financed using a premium finance company. You can have all these options that also can be edited within the utility section. If this is an account that is financed through a premium finance company, the next section is also where you can enter a contract number for that particular account, as well as entering the payment method. So this is specific to any payments that have been received as far as like a down payment for this policy. So if you did receive a down payment, how was that payment made? Was it by cash, check, money order? These are the options that you can choose. Your policy number when entering a manual policy will always default to pending. You can edit that information manually, or if you have your carrier downloads sending this information to your agency electronically, it will be updated once the policy is downloaded and imported into QQEvolution. The binder date right below it, that will automatically default to the date that you're creating this policy. Right next to it is the policy period, which can be changed depending on the options that you have here. The effective date also will default to the date that you are creating the policy, that information can be edited by you on this policy if it needs to be changed to indicate the correct effective date. And then we have our CSR section. So this is where you can indicate who or which CSR is assigned to this particular policy. Now, if you do not have a particular CSR assigned to this policy, you do not have to fill that in. You can move on to the next section, which is the type of business. What type of policy is this? Is it a new business policy? Is it a renewal? Or is it a rewrite? Now below that we have also a policy description, which allows you to type in any additional information pertaining to this particular policy or the vehicles insured on this policy. And then policy source is where you can indicate any of the sources of business that led this customer to purchase this particular policy through your agency. So these are basically a list of all the advertising tools that your agency uses. This would be added on a policy level. You do have also a source of business section on the customer level in the client screen that can be added also or selected in that section as well. The premium info section is where you're going to enter all the premium information and view any applicable company or agency fees. In order to have the agency commission calculated properly, commissionable and non-commissionable premium and fees need to be separated. So at the very top, we're going to enter our quoted premium, which is the premium that is paid or that the insured knows that they're paying. That includes your carrier fees and any taxes that may apply to that premium. And we're just going to go ahead and enter that information. Right below it, we have a base premium information. So this is where you're going to enter the pure premium for this policy. This premium does not include any carrier fees or taxes. It is just the pure base premium. Now please keep in mind that until a base premium is entered on a policy, the policy will always remain in pending status. So if you're looking at the top of your screen, that pending status will not change until you enter a base premium amount. So in this case, let's go ahead and enter our base premium amount. Once you do this, you'll notice that on the lower right hand side of the premium info section, we have an additional premium area, and there's a credit of $250 on this policy. This simply is because there's a difference between, the system notices that there's a difference between the quoted and base premium. Those may be carrier fees and taxes that need to be entered within this policy. So on the very lower left hand side is where you're going to either itemize your carrier fees and taxes, or you can edit the information and add them all or group them all into one general fee. If you need to itemize these particular fees and taxes and whatnot, you're going to go ahead and click on Add Fee. This is a list of all the carrier and fees that were created and entered within your utilities section. So you can pick and choose which fee needs to be entered. Now, if this has to be changed, if the default amount needs to be changed, you can do it directly in here. So in this case, we'll leave it as a flat rate, and maybe we'll add $50 here. If this fee is commissionable to your agency, go ahead and click on this commissionable option here. If not, then click on OK, so it adds that information. So going back to that additional premium info section, you can see that there's now a credit of $200 that is due back on this policy. So that means we have additional fees and taxes that we need to itemize as well. So if I need to edit a fee that automatically defaults into the section, I can highlight it and then click on Edit Fee. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and enter $50 as well. So as I'm itemizing that information, we can see that the amount changes in the additional premium section. So we're going to add some additional information or additional fees. And we're going to click on OK. So at this point, it balanced everything out. So even though there's a difference between the quoted and the base premium, it does, once we enter our carrier fees, it makes up for that difference. If there's a portion of your base premium that is not commissionable to your agency, then you can enter that amount there. So out of $1,000, say $200 of that is going to be non-commissionable. So you're only getting commission on $800. So now your agency commissions, if you have your commission rules set up, are going to be calculated on $800, not the full $1,000. Some of the areas within the premium info section are fees or are areas that you can edit. Some are locked fields, which means that any information that needs to be changed will have to be done in a different area. You cannot do it directly in here. For example, the carrier fees. We can see that those carrier fees can be edited in the carrier fee section below. We have a section for endorsements. So if you're receiving your endorsements via carrier download, that information will populate the screen. If there are any premium adjustments, you'll see them here. But if you're adding your endorsements manually to just update the information within this section, you will need to add the endorsement by clicking on the action toolbar where it says endorse in the policy section. So once you do that, you're going to get this pop-up window that appears, and depending on the line of business that you're on, your options and endorsement types may change. Your endorsement method will always give you the option to choose whether to endorse this particular policy manually or using a pro rata calculator, in which case you can enter the full term premium if you have it, and it automatically fills in that information for you. Otherwise, you would have to manually enter each and every section, which we'll get to in just a few seconds. Since we're on a personal auto policy, my endorsement types are as follow. I can select that we're making a change by adding a vehicle, maybe adding a driver, changing a lien holder. Your changes don't necessarily have to have anything to do with the premium change. It could be for anything. If you do not see your reason here, you can also click on endorse and move on to the next section. And you can type in at that point your endorsement reason. Right below it, you can choose to, after you endorse this, to print an Accord form, a generic form, or print an Accord auto change form. If you don't want a form to be printed out, you can simply leave it to where it's defaulted now, not to print a form at all. We're going to click on endorse, and so my next step is to type in my my information, the reason why I'm endorsing this policy. My coverages do not change, they stay the same. My endorsement number will default automatically to the policy number. We do not recommend that you change that information simply because you want to make sure if there's an endorsement change or an endorsement change to the that affects also the commissions, that it's associated with that specific policy. Your endorsement date also defaults to today's date as well as the binder date. Now if I need to change this endorsement date, maybe this doesn't need to be effective until June 1st, which is the effective date of the policy, I can enter that information, and it will ask me if we need to change the binder date as well. If you click on no, it will leave the binder date as is. The type of business also pulls in from the policy screen as far as new business. You can also select the CSR at this point if you have not. You have your financing section, which is how the policy is being paid for. And then we also have a premium info section on the right-hand side that you would need to complete if there's a change in premium. So you will need to enter the quoted premium and the base premium for this endorsement. So if there's an additional, let's say $200 for this change, you're going to enter that information there. If the base premium is the same and there are no company fees or taxes that do not need to have, that your commissions do not need to be calculated on, then you can enter that information. Otherwise, you would need to enter the correct base premium information and then adjust and add the carrier fees as we did before in the policy section. At this point, we'll just go ahead and enter the same information. And so on the far right hand side we have a commission section. If your commissions were set, if your commission rules were set for this particular line of business through this carrier, you would see a dollar amount there. If they're not, and you want to, like in this case, and we want to add them, we're going to click on that little box right next to it, and then we're going to enter the percentage, the commission percentage you receive on this commission, and just click on OK. So at this point you can see that on this commission I'm going to make $20. I'm going to click on OK. So now we originally wrote this policy at $1,250, but after the endorsement was applied of $200, the new premium is going to be $1,450. So that is the new premium. So anytime there's an adjustment to the policy via an endorsement, you will see the endorsement information in this section, but the total premium will reflect that change. The quoted premium will always reflect the original premium that was written, that the policy was written. To the right of the policy screen, you'll notice there's an optional section. So this is where you can add any optional coverages or additional coverages that the insured has purchased through your agency outside of this policy. So if they purchase, for example, gap insurance or maybe like a AAA membership, any item that is outside, you can add this information in the utilities section so you can keep track of the additional purchases that the insured made through your agency directly on this policy screen. The agency fees also will be reflected within the optional section because this is money that is not going towards the policy itself but directly to your agency. This field in this section is locked, which means that you'll need to add any agency fees in the fee tab located at the bottom of the screen in the fee section. So to the right you'll notice we have a policy agency fee section. So this is where if you click on add fee, you can add fees that were charged that you normally would charge your customers. So if you have an MVR fee that you charge your customers, you can do that. Maybe you have a credit card processing fee, also that you charge your customers, or a broker fee. These are all fees that you can add in your utility sections to see then and be able to select within the policy screen. Once you select one of these options, you can go ahead and see it added. Once it's added, it will be reflected in the optional column here on the right hand side of the policy. Further down we have the premium down payment. So if you did collect a down payment, you can enter that amount here, and if you need to print out a receipt, it can be automatically done also from this section. You don't necessarily have to go into a different area to post that payment. So once I enter that amount and I try to tab over, this is what appears. So this is going to show me exactly what I collected. I have my agency fee entered here. I have my down payment amount. If the entire down payment amount is not being paid in full, I can enter an IOU amount with a due date, so it creates a debit on the client billing side for that customer that I can track and make sure that I get paid for. If that's not something that your agency does, just leave that highlighted at 0, or the dollar amount 0, and then the total down payment being received will be listed here below. You can select your payment methods right at the very bottom, whether it's a cash payment, credit card. These are the options that you have as far as payment method. If it's a split payment where a portion of that payment was paid using cash, and maybe the other portion was paid by using a credit card or anything else, maybe by check, you can also select that option as well. Once you're done, you have the option to click on either print a receipt or not to print a receipt. Either way, once you enter that information, it does get posted in the customer's account as a payment being received. At the very bottom of that section, you have the number of payment section. This is specific to any account that has that may be financed through a premium finance company, or maybe that your agency is financing. So by entering the number of payments, it'll tell you exactly what is included in that contract. If your agency is also the premium finance company that is financing that premium, you can also have the system create a finance schedule automatically for those billing options and reminders, and set reminders for you. So at the very top, you're going to choose the installment type, whether it's monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, maybe semi-annually. You're going to enter the installment amount, the number of payments, and when is the first payment due. So maybe in this case, the first payment is going to be due on June the 12th. I'll go ahead and select my name. I don't necessarily have to select a CSR. I can bypass that section if I need to. Once I leave this area or this box checked, the system will create a finance schedule for me automatically on the client billing side for this customer that I can then track. I can invoice, I can send information or print out receipts on and whatnot. Below that, you also have a way to automatically add reminders to this particular account for this policy. That will remind you that the payment is due, and maybe you want to be reminded a certain amount of days before the actual due date. So in which case, you can enter here the number of days before that payment is actually due. When do you want to be reminded? At the bottom of the policy screen, you will notice quite a few tabs. The first tab, Policies, allows you to view all the policies of the named insured. It shows basic information like the effective date, the company, and the premium. The second tab is for endorsements. Now this will allow you to view any endorsements that were entered or created within QQEvolution for this policy, as well as any endorsements that also have been downloaded. If you would like to view a history of these endorsements, we do have the option to click on the History tab on the lower right that allows you to view a history of all the endorsements within this tab in a report-like manner. The next tab that we're going to review is the Package Info tab. This tab allows you to package together any policies that are part of a package policy. You will need to have each policy individually added into your customer's policy screen. Once that information is entered, you can select the Package Policy Automatically button or tab on the lower right that will package those policies for you automatically. Now, in order for a policy to be considered part of a package policy within QQEvolution, the policies will need to have the same policy number and effective dates. Once that is once those policies are created, you can go ahead and click on this button here, and your policies will be automatically packaged together. So if you notice on the right hand side, you'll be able to view your premiums and your commissions individually, as well as a package policy. Now, if you need to remove a package or a policy from the package itself, all you have to do is select that particular line of business and then select Remove Package here at the bottom on the lower left. You're going to confirm that this is the action you want to take. Once that's done, it removes it from the package policy section, but it does not remove it from the policy section entirely. It's still within the policy section for this customer's account. Each package policy or each line of business that's part of the package policy will have an asterisk right in front of the line of business. Now, if you have additional package policies that you would like to add to this package, all you need to do is select the Add Package Policy to Existing section and choose that particular package there, or that particular line of business. The next tab over is the Forms tab. The Forms tab allows you to view all the Accord forms that have been created specifically for this policy. It also allows you to view the Accord forms that have been created from any information that has been downloaded from the carrier downloads into this policy as well. You also have on the lower right hand side a Add a Form button, which allows you to create Accord forms for this particular policy directly from this section. Our next tab over is the Claims History tab. This allows you to view any claims information that was entered in QQEvolution for this specific policy. You can view and edit the information by double-clicking on the claim itself. Our next tab is going to be the Fees tab, which allows you to view both company fees and agency fees that have been applied or charged onto this policy. Now, on the left-hand side, you have the company fees, which are basically the fees that the insurance company applies. It could be policy fees, it could be taxes, surplus lines taxes that get added to the policy directly by the carrier. On the right hand side, you'll see the agency fees. Now, these are fees that your agency will charge the customer or the insured directly, and it can be anything from an MBR fee to a policy endorsement fee to a credit card processing fee. To access your agency fees, you are going to click on Add Fee, and this will give you a list of all the fees that have been created within the utilities section for your agency. If you do not see your agency fee here listed that you need, you will need to get with your administrator so they can add that to the list that's in the utilities section. To add a credit card or any fee that's listed within this section, just simply highlight the fee itself and click on Select on the lower right hand side. Once that fee has been applied to the policy or the agency fee section here within the policy, you can also edit the value or dollar amount. You can click on Edit and change that information directly onto this policy. This does not change the default setting within the utility section for this particular agency fee. It just changes it for this particular policy. The next tab over is going to be Commission Breakdown. The Commission Breakdown tab allows you to enter and reset your agency commissions. So if you have commissions that have been applied, or commissions on this policy that have been applied to this particular account or policy and need to be edited, what you can do is highlight, once you're in the Commission Breakdown tab, highlight that commission and edit the percentage within that column. You can also edit the dollar amount or remove it completely. We also have on the lower left hand side the Reset Commission option or button that's located that can do that also. So if you had a change in the utilities section from one commission percentage to another, by clicking on the Reset Commission, it will pull that new commission percentage automatically without you having to enter that information manually. If you also have commission rules that have been created for this particular line of business, for example, you can apply that commission rule by making sure that you have the commission rule radio button selected and clicking on Add. So this is a list also that can be created and saved within the utility section of any commission rule that needs to be applied within this line of business. The commission rules are just a way of creating different commission percentage or saving different commission percentages that apply to this policy for the same line of business. Highlight the commission rule that applies and click on Apply Rule to have it applied to that policy. So if we have a commission rule that needs to be applied, we can do that. You will need to enter the dollar amount that applies to that rule. So if the total commission amount of $700 applies to this particular commission percentage, then based on this information, what portion of that commission or that dollar amount applies to the commission rule. So in this case, let's say it's $200. What happens at this point is that the system will automatically recalculate your commission for both the original commission percentage and also the new commission rule. To delete a commission rule, you're just going to highlight that commission and select Delete so it removes it completely. The last tab that we're going to view is the Producer tab. Now this is where you're going to add or edit producer commission information. So to add a producer that's going to get commission on this policy, you have two options. On the lower left, if you notice, we have Add Agent as Producer or Add Agent or Add CSR as Producer. So adding the CSR or the producer will allow you to enter commission percentages that they may earn from writing a policy within your agency. Now if it's the agent that is going to be getting commission on this policy that's listed also on the client screen, then all you need to do is click on Add Agent as Producer. This will automatically pull in whomever is listed on the client screen as the agent. Now you can also choose on the lower right hand side to add a producer. This does basically the same thing, except it's not going to automatically pull that agent's name in the producer section here within this pop-up window. You will need to click on the drop down arrow and select that particular producer. Once you do that, if they have a commission percentage or defaults set up within the utility section, you'll see them here. In this particular case, this producer is going to be getting 50% of what the agency makes off the policy. Now the agency's commission is going to be listed right below, and I can see that this particular producer is going to get the full 50% off of what the entire amount of what the agency is making off the policy. On the lower left, you'll see the total commission on that particular policy, as well as any agency fee commissions that this particular producer can earn. So in this case, this producer is going to get $200 commission on the policy, but then they also earn $1 on the agency fee. So their total commission for this policy is $201. Now if I need to edit the percentage amount that they are receiving on this policy but not really affect the default that's set in utilities, all I have to do is just edit the amount right in this section here. And I'm going to tab over. Once you do that, the system will automatically recalculate their commission. And I'm going to click on OK to save those changes. Now if I need to edit or delete a producer that's within this section, I can either double click to open up that window again. So now I can edit this information as well. And I'm going to click on OK. So now it's reset. Now if I need to delete a certain producer from this policy, I just want to make sure that I highlight the correct producer and select Delete and confirm that that's exactly the action I'd like to take. That concludes our session today on how to create and add information within the policy screen for a customer. Thank you.